All right, when it comes to training volume, how many sets you're going to do an individual workout, it can be difficult to figure out what's the ideal number for you to stimulate growth. Personally, I've experimented with really high volume in lines with the thoughts of Rich Piana.
Basically an 8-hour arm workout, and it's made up of 16 mini workouts every half an hour throughout the day for 8 hours straight.
I've also done extremely low volume, more in line with Mike Metzer's teaching.
Since the trainee already flipped on the growth machinery by going to momentary muscular failure once, any exercise carried on beyond what is required to achieve the goal of flipping on the growth machinery is precisely what constitutes overtraining.
I'm going to share with you my takeaways and experiences with both and make a recommendation of what I think you should do, what's going to work best to stimulate growth for you. Extremely high volume, doing 100 set arm workouts.
Like slapping out a 100 set arm workout. It's going to test your mentality, see if you can push through. Short rest times, anywhere in the 8 to 20 rep range, just blasting back and forth, pop, pop, pop.
Was in this kind of realm of kind of psychotic training for about 6 months to a year, where I was really ramping up my volume, and I noticed that it led to additional muscle growth. Going from doing just 5 sets in a workout up to 10 seemed to stimulate more growth than going from 10 up to 20 and then up to 30 and up to 40 and so forth. Seemed to be a reasonable or reliable mechanism to make my training more demanding, more difficult to stimulate additional muscle growth. However, the issue that I ran into is once you take it to the extreme, you go all the way up to 100 sets, and you're not in one workout where I'm doing 50 sets of biceps, 50 sets of triceps, supersetting back and forth. It becomes difficult for your body to recover from all of this work. And then you also have to sacrifice some of the other parameters that can be important for stimulating muscle growth. So you got to kind of pay attention to how when you crank one thing up, in this case volume, that you're going to probably have to drop down your intensity, you're probably going to have to drop down your frequency, how often you train, you're probably going to have to drop down your rest times, and all these things kind of move in unison. So when you're thinking about your training and you're trying to assess how often should I train, how hard should I train, how much work should I do when I'm in there, you got to look at it from a kind of holistic perspective where anytime you tweak one of these parameters, it's going to have spillover effects into the other ones. And so the main takeaway from really high volume, extreme amounts of volume, is that it gets to a point where although it is beneficial, it diminishes your ability to train hard, to train often, and to use an extended rest time and to recover properly, because your body can only recover from so much work. And I would say I bumped up against that upper limit, and approaching 100 sets per workout, you're starting to diminish the benefit of adding volume. And I would say overall, it's not super sustainable. I had difficulty recovering from it, and it didn't lead to as potent of a cocktail. If you think of the muscle growth cocktail as the combination of volume, intensity, frequency, rest times, tempo, rep range, the amount of weight you use, all these attributes, all these ingredients that you put into the cocktail to lead to the most potent, strongest, tastiest, or most muscle-inducing combination, you have to realize that they kind of oppose each other. They mix in with each other chemically differently, depending on how much of each one of the ingredients you put in. On the flip side, if you go really low volume, which I've been doing more recently, which is more in line with the thoughts of Mike Metzer. If you're not familiar, his idea is extreme intensity with extremely low volume, 1, 2, 3, a couple sets for each muscle in each workout, and then also really low frequency. You don't need to hit that muscle again for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days even. And this is kind of his philosophy, that if you just push to maximum intensity in one workout, and then the amount of weight that you can do for the amount of reps, as long as that increases from workout to workout, it doesn't really matter as much how much volume you do. And once you flip on this muscle growth machinery, it actually is counterproductive to flip it on again and keep doing more and more sets.
Since the trainee already flipped on the growth machinery by going to momentary muscular failure once, any more exercise after that is not just wasted effort, it's counterproductive.
Or doing drop sets and things like that. That's his philosophy. And I've experimented with that more recently. And although I did see that it was more conducive to being able to progressively overload, in that you're doing such low volume that it's pretty easy for your body to recover from. It's really easy to push with high intensity. I used a higher frequency because I'm not training with as much volume. My body can recover. I don't need a week in between arm workouts or in between leg workouts. And I noticed that, however, in both instances, particularly with my leg training, that going really, really low volume where I was just doing 2 sets in each workout and then I'd rest 3 or 4 days, I think my legs actually atrophied some over several months. But what was interesting is I was able to up the weight. So I'm doing jumping lunges with 80-pound dumbbells for sets of 15 to 20, and that weight has consistently gone up over the past 6 months as I've reduced my volume. So it's allowed me to progressively overload the muscle and get stronger, but not necessarily actually add more muscle. If anything, I lost some muscle doing this and gained strength. Maybe my legs plateaued. They definitely didn't get any bigger based on the measurements that I've been taking. To summarize, I think that doing a moderate amount of volume in each session, being at least 5 sets per working muscle up to roughly 15, is the sweet spot, and that's based on my personal experience of doing extremely high volume up to 100 sets and doing extremely low volume all the way down to just 2 sets. Hope that helps you to go out there and make some friggin' guns. Have a great day. Peace.